Okay, welcome back, everyone. Josh Weber here, co-founder and CEO of Big Red Jelly. I am joined by our content strategist, content lead, Paola, all the way down in Venezuela. Is that right, Paola?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Venezuela.
thank you. Yes, thank you for joining us. Today, we're talking about the first chapter in the content phase. So, again, to take a step back here, I'm a big believer in a proven process. That's what helps guarantee results for businesses like yours in order to grow better, faster, and further. And so, brand is the first phase. We've gone through those chapters. If you have questions or you want to explore how to build your brand, make sure you check out our YouTube channel and explore those brand chapter topics. But after brand, we go into content. Then after content, there's build, and then there's growth strategy, and then there's grow, right? So right now, we're in content, which fits right in between brand and build, and that's intentional, right? So we've finished the brand process, and now, in my opinion, it's time to activate the brand. It's time to elevate the brand. It's time to release the brand, not police the brand. And you do that by creating content, right? So that's why she's here, right? Because she's really good at design, content. She is world class. So welcome, Paola, once again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. Okay. So first question for Paola, and this is a timely question, right? There's a lot of AI going on right now. So, Paola, in your own words, why is having good content so important, especially in a world of AI, right? I think it's easier than ever to create content now, which is a good thing, but there's also some negatives maybe that come with that. So, why is it so important to have good content?
I think the reason it's the same that it has always been in all marketing history, and it's that we have a limited capacity of appearing in someone's radar. And we also have limited capacity of capturing their attention. So when you know those things, you know that whatever, if for a miracle you appeared in someone's sights, you want to make sure that you deliver your message clearly and effective. And you also want to make sure that you generate emotions because that's the only way you're going to start a connection with your potential customers. So the answer is the same. We have limited opportunities and we have limited capacity of retaining people attention.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. I like that you said, it has to have an intention, right? There's got to be a message with content. So that's a really good point. That kind of leads me to my second question. So when you're working with a client, and Paola works with, lots of clients at Big Red Jelly, 50, 100 clients. So, she's constantly going back and forth with different industries and company types, B2C, B2B, e-commerce. But my second question is, how do you decide what content to prioritize when you're creating new assets, right? So a business owner might come to you, or it's a Big Red Jelly account manager saying, hey, we need to create content, right? And you're like, okay, that's obvious. But what do we create? So how do you decide what to prioritize? Are there questions that you ask? How do you start to think about what are the priority content assets that should be created for that company?
I think it's a mix of three essential aspects. So we need to understand where the business is at right now, what the business needs, and what the business owner wants. So understanding those three aspects and understanding it well with real data, with real information, we can create our own matrix to understand what is important and what's urgent and what's not important and what's not urgent. So once we collect all this information and we do that in the discovery meeting with the clients, we can easily, and it's a very clear vision for the clients and for us to what we need to do, because then we start seeing what it's not urgent and it's also not important. So we definitely don't do that. But then we'll see things that aligns in all these aspects and are urgent and are also important. So if it fits in that matrix, it falls in that part of the matrix, we are definitely going to prioritize that. So we are going to what is urgent and what's important, because that's what the business needs, what where the business is at, so the business is ready to do that, and what the client wants. So, and that's the perfect spot to create content around.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that goes for any service. That's just a good strategy in general. It's like, okay, first let's understand where you're at. Let's audit your content right now, right? What do you have? What do you not have? And then taking it a step further, okay, you have these assets, you have this content, but is it good enough? Does it have a clear message? Is it talking to a specific audience? What's the goal of this piece of content? Sometimes I think we get stuck in this trap of just creating content for the sake of creating content, and it's a black hole in terms of time and effort. It's like, is it, to your point, is it actually improving the metrics that matter, right? And so that's a good point too. What are the metrics that we're going to track to know if our content creation strategy is even working?
Yes, yes. And another very common mistake is that people create content around themselves because they are so passionate about what they do, and they should be. That's an amazing thing to have. But since they don't have a real strategy on what the business actually needs, um, they start creating a lot of content about themselves, what they do, why they are a great option, their features, and all of that. And the problem with that is that it's not going to resonate with the people that they're the audience, because they are the ones who should be in the center of the conversation. And those little mistakes happens when you are taking just in consideration what the business owner wants, because he usually knows what he wants to talk about, what he wants to show, but we need to align that with the business needs and the current situation of the business.
Another frequently mistake is that people believe that that content creation stops with social media. That's very common to believe, but actually, social media is the starting point of content creation. That's just the initial phase. There, you still need to feed your leads with more content, website content, blogs, Google Business Post, Google search, visibility, and email marketing. So there is still a lot of content that we need to create. And if this sounds overwhelming, it's just because you are doing it without a strategy. Once you define the whole process, your whole funnel, marketing, sales, you'll have a clear picture on what you need to create, and you won't drain your energy spending hours and hours and hours and hours recording videos and editing videos just for social media. And then when your potential audience move to the next stage, they don't have anything to consume for you. So yes, content doesn't stop with social media. There are a lot of things that you still need to do, and only with a clear strategy you're going to be able to cover all these fronts.
I like that. I mean, this is a little bit of a curveball, but you mentioned something earlier. So that's a common mistake that business owners or marketers make, is the content is centered a little bit too much around them and not the audience or the goal. What are some other common mistakes that you see from clients or business owners when it comes to content creation? Are there other mistakes?
Yes, so definitely number one is putting themselves in the center of the conversation. And the second one, that it's also something that you mentioned, but people create a lot of content with no real purpose and no real call to action, and they saturate their social medias with, even it can be content selling a lot of things and not providing real value. And in social media algorithms specifically, it's going to put you in a very difficult position, because every time you post something that doesn't get a lot of interactions, you get a little bit, you get moved a little bit down in the algorithm. So that's also connecting with the first question. In social media, particularly, creating good content is important because it also fits the algorithm to let it know that you are worth being seen. So creating content without a strategy, without a purpose, it's definitely the second mistake. And people talk about, like business owners talk about randomly stuff without having any strategy behind, and that's going to hurt the social media presence.
Yeah. Next question for you. So, what are some of the questions that you would ask a client to better understand their content creation strategy? What are some of the fundamental questions that are important that you ask that help you do your job well?
Well, one question that is very that helps to clarify, it's to understand what's working in the past. And I want to first get their impressions, their perception on what has worked better in the past. And then I do my own research on what I can see in the metrics on what's working, what has worked better. And usually you find there, just in that question, a little disalignment in what they think worked and what actually worked. And then you can start preparing a strategy from there. Like, okay, and once the client start to understand that their perception, we can't take for sure their perception. We need to back everything in data. They also treat their thinking, and they are like, oh, okay, yes, this is great. I haven't noticed this. Okay, this is great. And they become more open to change and to ideas and suggestions when they see that their perception is not the only thing to take in consideration. For example, another common question is, I get to ask in the first discovery calls, what are their best seller products? Because what I want to know is what are like the actually bestseller, and then I want to know how they are communicating that in their platforms. Is it clear? The call to action is clear on what they need to do, what the audience needs to do after, and that gives me a very clear picture of how they're managing their strategy. There is also a place where I found a lot of incongruence between their bestseller product and what they talk and what they promote.
Mm.
It's very surprising to see that a lot of accounts, they don't even talk about their bestseller product, but not as a part of a strategy, but they just don't communicate it well. And there I get an idea. Okay, I'm starting to see where the starting point is, and let's go from there. Let's align everything. Let's put everything where it belongs, so we can create a good strategy.
I love it. Second to last question here. So tell me about audience research. Why is it so important to understand the audience, and what do you do to research their audience so that you can create content that, to your point, puts the audience or the customer in the center of the conversation?
Well, audience is my favorite part of the research process. It's where everything makes sense, that everything comes together. Once you understand your audience, the whole business makes sense by itself. So why audience is important? It's biological reason. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to feel like someone got our back. And that's the goal when a brand talks to their public. You want to make sure that you make your audience feel seen and feel directly talked to. So that's what is so important. You want to make sure your audience feels seen by you. And you can only do that when you understand your audience, when you understand what they like, what they do, what they fear, what are their concerns. So how we do that? We have a very clear framework, and we use a tool. Well, it's also, yes, it's like a framework, which is the hero journey framework, to have a better understanding of our audience. So in the hero journey, we tackle some points like what are our audience pains, what are their concerns, why they suffer when they don't have the solution they are looking for, how we can bring the solution, what are their aspirations, what are their expectations, what are their desires, how we're going to transform their life once they know the service that we offer, how we're going to support them to become the best version of themselves. So in that framework, we answer all those questions, and we ended up having a very clear vision of the audience. And the very contribution of the process, we want them to walk with us. Yes, that's a very fun part to create, to develop. And it's also very exciting for the client to see their brand come to life. That's a very good part of the process.
Wonderful. Paola, any other tips or thoughts about content discovery before we wrap up?
Yeah, some key aspects that you need to take in consideration when you are in the content discovery part. Okay, so first you need to learn a little bit about what's working in your niche in social media, but in other aspects, learn about what's working, try to understand what trends, hooks, formats are working, what call to actions, what lead magnets are working, so you can see how you can adapt and replicate, especially adapt what is already working. And then you also need to pay a lot of attention in this stage to your unique value proposition. What makes you different? Here is the time. I know we have worked with that before in the brand stage, but this is a part where we are also going to focus on that, because it's going to be the angular rock of our content, your differentiator. And then you need to map the hero's journey using all the information you have on your audience on your unique value proposition. You're ready to create your hero's journey, putting the audience in the center of the conversation and positioning yourself as the wise character that is going to help the hero to become the best version of themselves. And there you are going to have, and then you have to analyze the metrics to understand really where you are and where you want to be after a, a specific period. And once you have everything prepared, you're ready to start developing the content and you are ready to succeed.
Wow. I could not have said it better myself. Yeah, this is fantastic. I think hopefully this highlights for you people watching that there's a lot of work that needs to be put in before you just start creating content. I think that's a beautiful summary by Paola. To summarize, yeah, it's put the customer, the audience at the center, make them the hero of the journey. You are the guide. Use data to support what content you should be focusing on, right? And understand where you are and where you want to go before you just start creating content. And I've always said that I see a lot of small business owners or entrepreneurs just spending hours and hours and hours creating content, editing content with no clear goal, and they don't know if it's working. And in today's age, it's the best time to create content because we can get real-time data and feedback. I think that's something that Paola kind of highlighted, which is you can use content to gather customer feedback really quick. That's an interesting tool, especially for a small business. So Paola, thank you. Appreciate it. And guys, tune in next time as we continue through the content proven process here at Big Red Jelly.